basically, I can't have my foot flat and steady on the ground and then like turn, because then that's like when the whole hip starts to turn. I could do it on my toe. What I have to do is like lift my heel and like rotate on my toe, but it's when the whole foot is flat and then I like try to turn. It's like, you know, I don't know if I'm explaining it really well.
I get what you're saying, but like
when my heel is off the ground and I kind of rotate that foot on the toe, it's not a problem.
How do you golf like that?
Well, when you rotate, you kind of turn on your hip, right? Because my right hip, it's my back.
Yeah, I'm the other way. You're right.
Yeah, if it wasn't, I'd be in trouble. Yeah, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Although rotating out is less the problem. It's rotating in.
Mine doesn't hurt me as much. Mine doesn't hurt when I play golf either. It's like after when I'm laying around, it gets fucking. Yeah. It gets stiff.
Yeah. So, but it's luckily it worked for me, because usually like when things only work for half the people. I'm usually half the people, but this time I have to say he nailed it. He nailed the spot. So we'll see what happens.
Good. Yeah, keep going.
All right. So what do we got going today? We have. Go ahead.
Got AFC East.
Yes.
I went in the order as they finished last year, and it doesn't matter. That's just the way I did it. British Open.
Yes.
The nightmare that is the New York Yankees at the moment, and I got Scotty Trivia, and then you said you will have maybe a game and a Andrew Luck thing.
I have both.
Excellent.
We could do that during our NFL.
Excellent.
We could do both are during the NFL stuff.
Perfect.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Let me fire this back.
Good to be back, bro. We're ready to roll now for the duration of
I would think so.
Fall and winter, right?
Unless something comes up, unless there's a scheduling issue, but I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So let me just make sure this is going. That's good. And that's good. And we're good. All right, here we go. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Colasano, joined, as always, by my good friend, Scott Bracey. What's going on, dude?
Hello, buddy. After a couple of weeks, good to see your face again.
Same here. I'm very excited. A couple NFL camps have started already. More starting on the way. Hall of Fame talk, all kinds of stuff coming up. So looks like we're in it for the duration now. We should be up and running every week unless there's, scheduling issues. And we're going to start this week with the AFC East. So NFL talk, big time. We got some golf to talk about. Huge event started today already on Thursday. What else? Yankees are really tearing it up, but not necessarily in a good way. They're just tearing something. And all kinds of good stuff going on. So I might have a little game for you later on. One of the games and questions you might not like so much, but I know you're a professional and you'll step up and answer like a true pro. So
excellent.
Why don't we get started at AFC East?
I am going to start with the reigning champions of the division, the Buffalo Bills. We have mentioned a couple times now over the last month. Big year for Josh Allen. One way or another. He has been, last year going into the year, he was touted as the potential MVP.
Right.
And they had a lot of curveballs thrown in their way, to be fair to him and to the organization. But now he's in year 5?
I believe so.
Yeah. You're one of the best. You're one of the most talented guys in the league. I know your division has gotten better. The conference by itself is insane. But listen, if you want to be one of the top 3 guys in the league, you got to step up to the plate.
I think that's fair. Do you happen to have his stats from last year? Because one of the things that I don't want to say it bothers me, because I don't want to overreact to it, but there was a lot of talk that he was he was an MVP candidate, MVP leader, and he had a bad year. You hear people say he was bad. It was well, then we need to redefine what bad looks like, because if I'm not mistaken, and I assume you're looking it up right now, I think he had over 30 touchdowns and under 15 interceptions. I think
he threw for 35 touchdowns, 4,200 yards, 63.3% completion percentage.
How many interceptions?
Hold the phone, sir. This fucking thing.
Yeah, right off the bat with what you're saying, 35 touchdowns, 4,500 yards. I would like to see the completion percentage a little higher.
14 picks.
Yeah, so we're talking like 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. I don't know in what planet and what universe suddenly that isn't like an exceptional season. The problem was he definitely didn't do as well as he did the year before with Daboll as his coordinator. So, it looks worse than it is. And then they lose to Cincinnati like kind of handily, if you ask me, especially at home.
And don't forget, dude, he ran for 760 yards and 7 touchdowns too. That he's a stud.
That counts.
He's got to win.
That counts. That puts him over 5,000 total yards between passing and rushing. It's an impressive thing. We've talked about this many times. I would like to see him run the ball a little less. They need to come up with some solutions with that. And to be totally honest with you, I don't know that they have. I don't know how much of it is a running back issue and how much of it is an offensive line issue, but you know me. I usually think it's more O-line because that's who opens holes. These are professional running backs, dude. So all of them can run the ball. Can you open holes, though? And I think that's what's been the problem there.
I got the same thing written down. Running back, no running back again. Do they go after Dalvin Cook as we go through training camp? He's still without a job. I don't know if it's a fit.
You and I have been saying that for almost 2 months now. That it seems to me Dalvin Cook would be a good fit there. I hope they don't. That's
his brother's there who had a pretty good second half, but he's not as good as Dalvin is. Another problem they had last year too is they don't have a great number 2 at wide receiver. Diggs is bitching and moaning already before camp even starts.
Yeah, who's the other kid that had just a sick game in Kansas City 2 years ago in the playoffs? Kind of emerged.
I'm drawing a blank.
I can't remember either, but he had a good season last year, but not a great season. He definitely didn't step up as much as as a lot of people thought coming off like a 3-touchdown game.
Tight end wasn't as good as it was the year before either.
Now, they drafted a big-time tight end, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes.
So I think that's improved. Listen, they're still going to be a really good team. I expect them to be 10 wins minimum. I think it'd be crazy to think otherwise. I don't care what anybody says. To me, Josh Allen is top 5, maybe even top 3 quarterback in the league because of all the things he can do and the cannon that he has as an arm.
Gabe Davis is the guy we're looking for.
Yeah, Gabe Davis. That's what I was talking about.
And the tight end we thought
that they just drafted.
Oh, Dalton Kincaid from Utah was a stud.
Correct.
Yeah,
and he's mainly a receiver. He's barely a blocker in the run game. He's mainly a receiver, but that is what they need. They need somebody, especially over the middle. Not that Diggs is afraid to go over the middle. He's not, in fact. But it's nice to have that, that tight end over the middle, especially for a guy as big as Josh Allen. Man, you give him a nice tight end over the middle, which, correct me if I'm wrong, he really hasn't had in his career, like a really good tight end.
Dawson Knox had that good year in 2021, but last year he wasn't good at all.
Yeah, so, but listen, like I said, I still expect them to be at least a 10-win team, maybe more. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 12 or 13. It's a really good team. I'll give you one last thing to me that is like going to be a huge factor in either how the season goes or, frankly, more to the effect, how the season ends. And that's Von Miller, obviously, right? Tore the ACL. Will he be ready in the beginning of the season? Will he be ready at any point in the season? He's not a young fella, so it's not like he just bounce back from those things so quick, like the kid for the Jets, the running back for the Jets. You know who I'm talking about.
Breece Hall.
Breece Hall. He's an older guy. But when he's in the lineup, that defense was so much friggin' different in the first half of the year when he was on the field. They were even better. He made a bigger difference than I even expected him to last year. So he comes back and he's playing even close to what he's capable of. That's a very different team. It just really is.
Well, I'm glad you hit on that side of the ball too, because they lost 2 guys and they lost a safety, who was one of their main guys. I don't know if it was Pryor or the other guy, Hyde, one of them. And then they lost linebacker Trayvon Edmonds, who was a stud.
Right.
And he went to the Bears, who the Bears aren't supposed to be any good, but they, linebacker, you over there, middle linebacker. Right. He's a tremendous player. Big kid, can hit, can run. That's a big loss for them, especially with McDermott as a defensive guy. So
yeah, you and I have talked about this many times, and people probably get sick of it. But it's the idea of salary cap, right? They're finally having to pay Josh Allen. The money has increased. Well, you have to make decisions. Kansas City does this all the time, and what do? They focus more on the offensive side of the ball and say, "Hey, we'll stop people enough for Patrick Mahomes to take over games and pull out games for us." I don't know if the Bills have done that. You have to in the way the league is designed, the way the league is laid out now, but we shall see. But they're not going to take some biblical drop in talent and record. So and they still have one. No matter what, in the end, they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So
I got some notable games written down here. I know you don't love this, but it's just headline games. Week 1 at New York Jets.
Of course, it's huge.
Week 4 Dolphins home. Week 9 at Cincinnati. The DeMar Hamlin game. That's a scary situation.
Wild. Yeah, that'll be.
Yeah, I think it's prime time as well.
Just to see the vibe.
Yeah,
in the stadium on TV. Obviously they're going to preview that game on television with all kinds of stories and stuff like that. Now he's playing. Who knows if he even makes the cut? I don't know how you cut the fucking guy.
I know
at this point, but how much will he play? I don't know, but. Wow, that's a good one to point out. I like
that's even that's like either a Halloween weekend or an early November game. Like a lot of eyeballs are gonna be there.
Hell yeah.
Week 11 at Philly, week 14 at Kansas City, week 15 Cowboys home. Who knows what Dallas is gonna be at that point? And then week 16 at Chargers, dude. They got a lot of tough road games too ahead of them, man.
Yeah. That we'll see. We'll talk about this over and over and over again as we do these previews, but the AFC is tough. The AFC is so loaded. Just this division alone, as you'll see as we talk about it, it's friggin' loaded.
Yeah.
But the AFC in general is just absolutely loaded. So it's a tough schedule, but it is for everyone in the AFC, right? You can say the same. I'm sure when we get to KC, you'll say, "Hey, tough schedule." And what did I say to you last year when we were talking about, hey, the Jets beginning of season, tough, brutal schedule?
Yeah.
Tough shit. Like, this is the NFL. This is the deal. They're all difficult. Some are tougher than others. You want to be an elite team? That's what you do. You got to beat those teams.
Guess what? Stay tuned. It's tough again.
Yeah, it isn't easy. No.
We go on to the Miami Dolphins.
Hey, let me just say this.
Yeah.
We'll say this pretty much about every team in this division because, in my opinion, this is the toughest division. I'm not saying it's the best division, like the talent at the top of the division is better than any other, but it's as good a division as there is in football. You'd have a hard argument saying that anybody would be like under 500. Like, it's a really tough division. This is to me,
I agree.
Top to bottom, toughest division in football. So they're all going to have tough schedules because there's 3 other teams. So at least 6 of your games are going to be tough games.
I agree.
That's before you even get out of the division. So.
Correct.
Yep. Dolphins
made the playoffs last year with an injured Tua Tagovailoa. I think they played the Bills, right? They give the Bills everything they can handle.
Everything they can handle.
With Skylar Thompson from Kansas State.
Right
away, I got written down first thing, Tua healthy. Huge factor. Obviously, when he's healthy, he put up tremendous numbers. He's been going to some like jiu-jitsu thing to learn how to get hit and learn how to fall and learn how to
it's crazy.
It's very bizarre, but I give the guy A for effort for trying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you there.
Another thing, Dalvin Cook now rumored to go to the Dolphins. He was favored to go there through the betting lines, and that's a huge – if he's got anything left, that's a huge friggin' kick in the ass for them.
Yep.
Year 2 in the system.
What's Mike McDaniel? Is that the coach?
Yep.
He's a West Coast guy.
Yep.
They in a West Coast offense, we love using running backs out of the backfield. So, that's a great fit right there.
I'd say year 2 in the system for him, and if he goes there, and then to tap it off, like you said, speed.
Oh my God, it's all over the place.
All over the place.
Even right down to tight end with Gesicki, he's still there. Am I correct?
Yep.
They just signed him
to
a 1 or 2 year deal. Like, even your tight end is fast as shit. Like, he's basically a glorified, like a 20-pound overweight wide receiver. So everyone is fast. My 2 biggest questions for this team. Number 1, I still don't know how I feel about Mike McDaniel because, he's recognized as a player's coach. And I just don't know how those guys hold it together during tough times. Now, last year he kind of did when Tua went down and he kept it together. But year after year, if there's anything that's been proven over time, is that players coaches, those quote unquote players coaches, don't last.
Yeah.
Because you just, I don't know, you have to have that firm leader sooner or later.
Off the top of my head, Lovie Smith, Rex Ryan.
There's so many of them that they don't work out over time. Now in a short time, it's still only a second year. Maybe
Nathaniel Hackett, fucking scumbag.
Right there with New York now, but he's not a head coach. And then obviously, like you said, maybe the biggest question in Miami is Tua, his health. Can he stay on the field? That's just a weird one because in my experiences and seeing what we've watched and what I've seen as a coach, like concussions is not something that, stops.
Right.
Like if you're prone to concussions and then you've had a couple, I think it actually becomes more likely that you get them. You know, somebody breaks an arm, somebody breaks a leg, torn ACL, those things heal. They might not be exactly the same when they come back, you know, especially with torn ACLs, but sometimes they are. Sometimes they're even better. So those things, it's different. Like breaks are different. Concussions, you know, they reoccur, I think, easier and easier over time. So all this jujitsu, how to fall, I don't know that anybody could teach you how to fall when Aaron Donald hits you at, 22 miles an hour. So good luck. But that's the biggest question on our podcast. That's the biggest question in Miami right now, and it's probably the biggest question going in the NFL this year is when Tua's on the field, they're really, really good. Can he stay on the field? And I don't care who they are. You could bring in every doctor you want. There's no real answer for that. No one knows the real answer for that.
Right.
We shall see.
Notable games.
I'll throw this one more thing on there. We talked about a tough division. All three opposing teams in this division have defensive head coaches.
Yeah.
So those guys are going to be scheming things, put lots of pressure. Let's test his jujitsu here and see how it works out. So anyway, go ahead.
Notable games, week 1 at Chargers, right off the bat, going all the way out west. Week 4 at Bills, week 7 at Philly, week 9 at KC, week 12 at Jets. That's the Black Friday game.
Nice. That's going to be really cool.
Which I like a lot.
Hell yeah.
Week 16, Cowboys at home, and week 17 at Baltimore. And we will get to them in a week or two. I don't know what the hell they're going to look like.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Lamar will be playing, and outside of that, we really don't know. But we'll get to that for sure. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Listen, this is a very talented team. Tons of speed, as you said. Any team in this league would be jealous to have the kind of speed that these guys have with Tyreek Hill and Waddle and Gesicki, and God, if they get Dalvin Cook, they look even stronger. If you can add even just a complementary running game to those weapons, I mean, look out. I mean, it's tough. That's really tough. It's tough to match up with week in, week out.
One of the biggest mysteries going into 2023 for me is the New England Patriots, and for 20 years, you did not hear a peep out of that from anybody.
It was no mystery. Yeah,
it has turned on its head pretty quickly, as a lot of people thought it would. Especially after Tom won his first one in Tampa, everyone kind of was like, well, maybe he was the main reason why New England is so good. They finally got a real OC, Coach. Bill O'Brien back in the saddle after a year in Alabama. Sure. Last year was a disaster. I don't know what Belichick was thinking there, going with 2 unproven guys that never coached offense in the NFL before.
Unbelievable. You talk about just, spitting in the face of tradition here. It's almost like saying I'm so good as a head coach, I don't even need an offensive coordinator. Wow, it showed. Yeah, and people that give him Mac Jones shit. Anyone that cares about their job and you're giving him that to work with, I mean, I'd be bitchy too, dude. Give the guy a break. And the guy's a proven winner in Alabama, so I give him a little bit of slack there. He could be a little bit of a whiner on the sideline. I don't like that as much. But listen, you took one of the best offensive coordinators in the league and gave me a special teams coach and a defensive guy as my OC. Listen, don't embarrass me on national TV week by week by doing this. So I get that. Other than that, he's got, bless you, is there a sneeze coming? Look up. Oh, no. Oh, that's the worst. It went away. I even muted myself.
The problem now is, though, he still has minimal weapons.
Well, that's just it, right? You remember last year in the preseason, we talked about some of the moves that New England made with wide receiver Aguilar. If I'm not mistaken, he's not even on a goddamn team anymore.
I don't believe he is.
People are like, oh, my God, Aguilar. I'm like, do you know anything about this guy? Thinks he's average at best. I mean, if you had him as your third receiver, okay, but they were trying to make him out like he was a frontline receiver, and obviously it didn't work out. It'll be interesting to your point, how much of it was Mac Jones, how much of it was their coordinator situation, and how much of it is weapons. I don't think either one of us think Mac Jones is an elite quarterback. I don't even know, frankly, if he's top half in the league. I could probably name at least 12 to 15 quarterbacks that I would take.
I would probably say you're right, but to give the guy a little credit, he did go to the playoffs as a rookie.
Absolutely. You're absolutely. And the other side of it is, once again, another defensive genius as the head coach. And they do have talent on that side of the ball. You know they're going to at least be in games. They're not going to get their doors blown out too many times. Belichick doesn't allow that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's those questions that are going to remain, and we'll have a pretty good idea by Thanksgiving about how much of a difference Bill O'Brien being there is. It's got to make some difference, right? Like you're going from no offensive coordinator to a real pretty darn good one in the NFL who's proven himself not just in the NFL, also at the college level. So
yeah, they got Juju Smith-Schuster, which I don't know what he's at this point. Jacoby Myers is gone. I think he went with McDaniels to Oakland.
I think Schuster could actually do well because I think he fits into what New England usually wants out of their wide receivers. He's not afraid of the physical play. I think he's probably trying to prove himself because it didn't work out so great last year with Kansas City. We'll see with that. But I actually think that is a pretty decent fit, actually.
Running game's still good. The Stevenson's good too, and they always run the ball pretty good. They still got so Hunter Henry at tight end?
I think so.
Yeah, and like you said, their offensive line is usually okay.
I'll say, the other thing that is going to be interesting to me, if you remember, not last season, but after the previous season, so I guess that would be like what? After the 2020 season, they had, I can't remember the guy's name, but they had one of the best offensive line coaches in the league. And it was it's not very often that ESPN talks about offensive line coaches retiring.
Yeah.
And this guy, I can't remember his name.
I know who you're talking about.
He was brought up as like, this is a big deal. Well, now we're 2 years removed from that great offensive line coach not being there. Last year, the offensive line still held up pretty good running game, solid. We'll see. I mean, these things matter over time. As we saw with Josh Allen and losing Brian Daboll, these things do matter. Sometimes they take more time. Sometimes it'll turn itself around with new coaches. But I think that part of it, just because you mentioned they always have a good offensive line, it'll be interesting to see if it stays that way because now you're 2 years removed from that coach.
And you know what? Another thing, too, they're getting old on the defensive side of the ball as well. I know they had a couple guys retired, and then they had a couple more guys that maybe should have.
Yeah. Before you get into like what interesting games they have, the other thing is it's always difficult. Again, it's just the way the league is now. There's no question who has the worst quarterback in this division now.
Right.
Like no matter what you think of Mac Jones, even if you think he's pretty darn good, you don't think he's better than the other three.
That's
you have two Hall of Famers, one emerging, and then Mac Jones. So even if he's, average, he's not better than any of them. And I just look and I say, you look around the league, look at the standings last year, and you can almost look from top to bottom, best quarterback to worst quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a big problem for them too. It's not just whether you think Mac Jones is okay. He's just not better than anybody, not even close to better than anybody else in the division. Unless Tua gets hurt, of course.
I got one more for you, Coach, before I go to the schedule. How long does Bill have left?
Well, we may get to that question later on in the game, so we may have to address that a little bit.
In his 70s, he's
how many years does he want to rebuild? I mean, they're a rebuilding team right now. So how long do you want to do that for? And do you really want to do that for the next 4 or 5 years with Mac Jones?
Yeah, I know.
Unless you can pull off some kind of like the Deshaun Watson trade, like that happened there, where you get a really disgruntled quarterback somewhere in the league and you're able to put something together to get him. Does he really want to battle until he's 80 years old with Mac Jones? I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he just loves it so much. Who knows?
He might. Schedule. Week 1, Philly home.
Tough one to open up with.
Week 3 at the New York Jets.
I will say this. That'll be an interesting game, almost more for Philly.
Yeah, I agree.
Coming off the Super Bowl hangover, losing Super Bowl teams usually struggle the following year. We'll see how that goes.
I agree with that. Week 4 at Cowboys. Week 8 at Dolphins. Week 12 at Giants. Patriots, Giants history. I know it's a long way from that, but I think that's a good game. Yeah. I think that's got 12-7 written all over it. Week 13, Chargers go to New England. Week 14 at Steelers. Another team that I'm very curious to see what they're going to look like.
Ooh, I might have a question about them later.
Oh my goodness, I'm reading your mind.
You're just teeing it up for me here.
That's what we do. Week 15, Chiefs home, and week 17 at Bills. Their schedule, it's not favorable. And I don't know how they got
ending your season with those two.
Christ almighty.
Man. Imagine you're just on the cusp of making, like, you're one of the, fringe teams for the playoffs, and your last two games are the Chiefs and the Bills.
From Thanksgiving on, you better fucking pack your hard hat.
God almighty. AFC is tough, man. We're going to say this over and over again with all these teams. It's tough. It's tough.
All right.
Let's do it.
Save this one for last because
because they're last place.
Well,
that's why.
They were. But it happened to work out because I know you have a ton on your tongue here that you want to say. The New York Jets, and I have Aaron Rodgers obviously written down first.
Of course.
We've talked a ton about him already, so we don't got to go into the whole song and dance there. If the guy's mediocre, he's a huge upgrade over Zach Wilson.
Listen, I've said this from the jump when they signed him. They were 7-3 or 7-4 at one point with Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
And with the schedule, in fact, I think they were better than that. With the schedule that everyone in the universe thought was a horrible way to start the season. How could the Jets got screwed with this schedule? And they start 7-2, 7-3, whatever it was. You win 7 games when you won 7 games while losing your last 7 games of the season. Like, what kind of – this is not just adding a wide receiver or an offensive tackle. We're adding a Hall of Fame quarterback, one who I don't particularly like personally. Make no mistake, but I'm certainly liking him more on the Jets than I did watching him from a distance. The reality is he's Aaron friggin' Rodgers. It is what it is. And what I like more than anything, 2 things. If you've watched Aaron Rodgers through your career, when people really start to doubt him and say he's washed up, that's usually when he plays his best. And the other time he plays his best is when he's really, really happy. And he looks and sounds like a guy, and I think it's genuine. Everybody puts on their little peace hat and everything like that. They love where they are, fresh stuff. He looks genuinely happy. He's been at Knicks games, Rangers games, Nets games.
Golf tournaments.
U.S. Open, both tennis and, not tennis, both for the golf. Like, he's been everywhere. He's enjoying this New York lifestyle, okay? So I see a happy guy and a guy who, loves to be doubted. And there's still doubters out there because, frankly, last year was mediocre at best. So I expect big things out of him. The question, of course, with him is if they go on a 2 or 3 game losing streak, does he suddenly lose all that, the huge smile and the does all that go away?
Does he get cranky
when they lose 2-3 games in a row? And I don't have an answer for that because he's a friggin' enigma. He's a pain in the balls. But you have to say they're better. The whole team is basically the same. Their offensive line has to be better because it can't be any worse. Everybody got hurt last year. So the defense is still elite. You got to have some hope, right? So, you have to have some hope.
For the first time in a very, very long time, probably since the back-to-back AFC Championship years, they got weapons. They have depth. You have to stay healthy, obviously.
For sure. Everybody does, though.
Schedule's tough, but we did this song and pony last year. So, I think the
biggest question is their offensive line. That's really the question. Can it come together? Can Mekhi Becton be healthy?
Again, though, the first half last year was very good.
Yeah.
Is what's-his-face coming back healthy? The guy you like, Elijah Tucker, whatever?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's ready to go.
Okay, because he was so valuable last year.
Dwayne Brown is healthy.
For a couple of weeks.
Oh, my God. He played both guards and right or left tackle at one point and was doing really well. He's fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, he's a good player.
So he's fantastic. There's reason to be excited for Jets fans. And, yeah, the AFC is tough. The schedule is tough. But so what? It's tough for everybody. And there'll be tough games and there'll be tough losses. But if you're really a good team, over the course of 17 games, you're going to have more wins than losses. And if it's that tough, then maybe 10 wins does get you in the playoffs, or 11 wins definitely get you in the playoffs. Because, there's losses everywhere for everybody, But But here's one thing. I just wanted to throw this out at you. I was on my way to the gym the other day, and I happened to be listening to Greeny. And I never listen to Greeny because he's on at 10 in the morning on the radio. And so I never listen because it's just an odd time. But it just happened. I'm off for the summer, and I was on my way to the gym. And he said this, and I'm like, he basically said, because they have Aaron Rodgers, there's only two ways this season goes. Utterly fantastic, or he called it like a failure of biblical proportions.
No, I don't agree with that.
That's ridiculous.
I don't agree with that at all.
What's utter success? What does that mean? Like
what?
He's basically saying Super Bowl or the season was a waste. That's ridiculous.
No.
You're gonna tell me if the Jets go to the second round of the playoffs, they have to go out to Kansas City and they lose that game 34-31. That most Jets fans wouldn't say, if not every Jets fan would say, this has been an absolute success. But that's not incredible. That's not a Super Bowl. That's 2 games short of the Super Bowl. Come on, that would be awesome.
Is it time for Greeny to hang it up?
Dude, the over-exaggeration on radio and TV these days, it's just getting absurd.
Yeah.
And you know what it says to me? It says 2 things. You don't know what you're talking about, and you don't know what else to say because you really genuinely are not good at what you do. You're a personality. You're not a football guy. And that's a shame because he has such a platform, TV and radio. And you can't make an argument for getting to the second round of the playoffs and say, going to have to play at Cincinnati, and you lose by a field goal to Cincinnati, and that's a failure of biblical proportions? That's absolutely ridiculous and absurd. Come on, man. Give me a break. Any team in this league right now, other than what? I'll say like Kansas City, Cincinnati, maybe
Philly.
Maybe Philly.
Niners.
Anything short of AFC, NFC. I don't even know what the Niners. You don't even know who their quarterback is.
I agree.
Anything short of like AFC or NFC championship game for those teams, it might be a disappointment. It might be a disappointment.
Sure.
A disappointment is way different than
biblical.
Failure of biblical. I remember. I literally wrote it down when I got to the gym. A failure of biblical proportions. That's as if to say it was the worst thing. If we don't win the Super Bowl, the worst thing we ever did was sign Aaron Rodgers. That's just dumb. I'm sorry. That's just dumb, and it's ignorant, and it's, you know what it is, dude? It's lazy because you can't make an argument for, divisional round or an AFC championship game and losing and saying, that's great. Dude, we haven't even made the playoffs in 13 years. And you're going to tell me if we got to the AFC championship game or the round right before that, that's not a great season and Jets fans wouldn't be happy? Come on, man. It's absurd. What have I said to you a number of times? You know what most NFL football fans want? They want to be competitive and have a chance. That's all. You can't guarantee shit, even in Kansas City right now. You can't guarantee anything. What you would like as a fan is your team has a chance every week, and you think you have a pretty competitive team week in and week out. Like you have a chance at the Super Bowl. That's all.
Keep me interested the longer we go into the winter time.
That's it. Come on, dude. What do we? One team wins a Super Bowl. Anything short of that is a failure of biblical proportions.
For a guy that used to sit and cry every year about the Jets, he's ridiculous.
How bad?
He's ridiculous.
So stupid. Oh, by the way, did you forget? Aaron Rodgers hasn't won a Super Bowl in like 14 years. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, that's bad.
Just slow down. What I would like to see is a Jets team. I think if they don't make the playoffs, it's a very disappointing season. I still wouldn't even call it biblical proportions, but it would be very disappointing because then what's the point of getting an Aaron Rodgers, giving up the money, giving up the draft picks?
Well, that was me last year, bro.
Yeah, it's very disappointing if you don't. So it is kind of make the playoffs or bust, but not Super Bowl or it was an epic failure. I mean, that's just crazy. That's just crazy.
This reminds me, we have to try to get Mike Cohen on before the season
I
starts.
will reach out to him this week. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to do that down the road. Week 1, Bills. Week 2, at Cowboys. Week 4, Chiefs at home. Week 6, Eagles at home. You got a lot of these games at home. Week 8, at Giants, but that's nothing. Week 9, Chargers at home. And then Week 15, at Miami. And it won't be as fucking hot, which is nice.
Yeah.
You would
and
think.
The back end of the schedule for the Jets is a little – I never want to call it easier. It's still the NFL.
I know. We made that mistake last year.
yeah, if you are in the hunt for the playoffs, there's a lot of pressure that comes along with that. So to just say anything is easier, it's never easier. But it's never easy, I should say. But it's definitely not as difficult as some of those games that you were talking about. I just want to bring up one thing before we finish up with this.
Sure.
I think one thing that goes underrated about the Jets, and it might be because if people say, well, they have an elite defense. And they do have a top 5 defense, at least last year they did. They signed Quinn Williams, which is great because now you don't have that hanging over your head going into Hard Knocks. But I think the one thing about the Jets defense that makes them very special, and I think will keep them special all through the year, assuming these guys are healthy, is Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. They're the only team in the league that has 2 guys, not just one, 2 guys in the top 10 in the NFL at their position. That's rare, dude. Like, that's just really rare. So you have Sauce Gardner, who's 1 or 2, whatever. I could care less whether it's 1 or 2. But he's a top 2, 3 corner in the league. And DJ Reed is like 7, 8, 9. When you can just lock up guys on the outside, you're in every game. I mean, you could even say Aaron Rodgers never actually had that when he was on Green Bay, like 2 lockdown corners like that. It's a big deal in a passing league. So of all the things that the Jets have, that's one that, week in and week out stands up. If you look last year, that's why they were in a lot of games that they probably shouldn't have been because they had such shit quarterback play. Look at how many games last year they didn't even give up 20 points. Now you put an Aaron Rodgers on this team? Come on, man. But I think it was because of the corners. You get more pressure because quarterbacks have to hold the ball longer because you have great corners. They need routes to develop, or you got to wait for guys to get open.
Yep.
Gets more, you're able to get more pressure because of that. So I actually think that's the key with how great the Jets defense is.
Yeah, I mean, when the Giants won all the Super Bowls, it was the opposite. Their D-line was so good, their corners didn't have to be as good because they were getting that ball had to be out so fucking fast.
You're absolutely
so
true.
Your quarterbacks can't get lost back there that bad.
And well, yeah, to your point, the Jets' defensive line, and especially their pass rushers, are not what the Giants were those years. It just works in reverse.
Yep.
Two more quickies real quick. Number one, I don't care what anybody says, Robert Saleh's directly on the hot seat now. You have an elite quarterback. You've struggled for your first 2-3 years, whatever it's been, 2 years. He's on a hot seat. If they miss the playoffs, he's gone.
I agree.
If he misses the playoffs, he's gone. And I'm going to give everybody a name to pay attention to this year. He's the kid Michael Clemens from Texas A&M from last year. I feel like he was like a 4th or 5th round pick. He showed glimpses last year. There's something about this kid. He has a real tough edge to him. I got a feeling he's going to show out a little this year, and people are going to be like, who's this guy? Didn't even know he was on a team. Remember that name, Michael Clemens. You heard it here first. Okay?
All right. I got projections for this, how they finish this year.
Okay.
I got in last place the New England Patriots.
I cannot disagree with that.
And I don't think it's going to be kind of close, to be honest with you. Belichick's he's good, but I just don't see. I don't think they have the talent as the other 3 teams do. I just don't see it.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't think they're bad. Like we think of most last place teams. I don't think they're bad. I just think the rest of the division is so damn good.
Agreed.
Like somebody has to come in last.
Number 3, I got the New York Jets.
Okay. I don't think that's unfair.
And again, I love busting your chops. I don't have many negative things to say right now. I just don't know. Mainly because of my Broncos last year, this looks like I'm almost like an exact carbon copy of what the Broncos did last year. And Wilson coming off a mediocre year and an injury, the Broncos go gung-ho for him, or pay him a lot of money, and blah, blah. This looks very similar to me, so I just want to keep expectations kind of low because I just dealt with it.
That's your Broncos PTSD.
Yeah, I just dealt with that, so it's kind of like I tell people.
Poor guy's shell-shocked. I've seen this before.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Totally forgetting that Tom Brady went 1 year, first year, won the Super Bowl with Tampa.
Yeah. Another thing, like you said too, though, Salah, I don't know anything about him in a big game spot.
It really is kind of a wild card, man.
Yeah.
I think he's a real motivating guy, but on game day decisions, here's where it's really hard. He hasn't really, because they've been pretty bad.
I know.
We haven't really had a chance to see him have to make tough game time decisions, late game decisions.
Right.
So it's such a wild card. I don't know.
In second place, I have the Buffalo Bills.
Ooh, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think.
Proud of you. Proud of you, son.
Yeah, thank you. I think they're not going after the running back, not going after a stud second receiver. Diggs could be a pain in the ass all year long if it doesn't start out well. Weather's not great up there. You could lose a fluky game, something. I don't know. I just think listen, I'm a big fan of Mike McDaniel. I think if Tua stays healthy, Hill and Waddle are in their primes.
Oh, dude, they're so tough.
Gesicki's like, dude, they're so tough to like.
Loaded.
You guys have the best two quarterbacks in the league, and other than that, dude, like they're a problem for everybody else.
Absolutely.
So I think they could maybe sneak in and win the division.
It wouldn't surprise me. So I do have a little bit different order. For third place, I do have Miami, and for the reasons that I stated before, I agree with you 100%. When Tua's on the field, they're much more dangerous than I would have expected. All the stories we had coming out of camp last year was he was like throwing grounders. I will say this one thing. I was thinking about this yesterday, and dude, it happens all the time. Eventually, you got to be able to do different things. If you really think about a lot of what Miami was good at last year with those wide receivers, was Tua hitting them in the middle of the field. He doesn't have a real big arm, so it's not so much down the sidelines or outside the hashes and outside the numbers, his throws. A lot of those big plays were throws in the middle of the field. You give these coordinators a whole off season to think about this stuff and to devise schemes, because they're going to look and say, I don't think we're going to make this guy throw outside the numbers, and we'll see. On top of that, as I said before, the concussion thing, it's a problem for me. I just don't think that goes away and you're just okay, or you just suddenly learn how to fall. This idea of learning how to fall, that's a new one to me. I don't know. I think you learned that when you were like 2, but whatever. So I still think they're going to be in third.
Do you ever master it? Like you look stupid when you fall?
No. So I was a former quarterback, played in college, got rocked. Dude, when you go down, your head, you don't learn. Okay. I think this notion that you can learn to take the hit, it's happening at 100 miles an hour. Half the time when you get hit, you don't see it coming. It's just like you got blindsided or you just released the ball and get whacked. Dude, you're like get the wind knocked out of you every time you get hit like that. You're going to sit there and in a hundredth of a second think to yourself, stiffen your neck so that your head doesn't hit the turf. Like, no, that shit is not happening, dude. Like, it's just not. So his head will hit the turf again. Let's also remember, he's little. He's a little dude. He's not even 6 feet tall. I don't even know if he's 200 pounds. Maybe he's right around 200.
Yeah, like, I mean, 190.
This isn't just how these guys are twice the size of him. So I just don't see it. I don't see how suddenly he's going to complete a full season. Now, I don't know how many games he misses, but I just don't see it. So I think that's where my problem with them is. I do have the Jets in second. I can't knock Buffalo off until I see evidence that, to me, even with the way that playoff game went against Miami last year, did anybody really question whether or not they were the class of the division? Like, no. I don't really think so. As you watch that whole season, there wasn't any question of who the best team in the division was. So I'm just one of those, like, you got to prove it to me before I change my mind. Like, I'm not ready to take the crown away from them because I just think they're still really damn good. I will say this, though. As you and I have pointed out so many times over the last few years, chaos in the offseason does not lead to a successful season. So it's the one thing about Buffalo that does scare me. You got this unhappy Diggs. For what reason, I have no idea. He gets more targets than anybody in the league, more touches practically. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what exactly he's upset about. He gets paid well. But that's just not good. That's just the chaos in the offseason. Aaron Rodgers is a perfect example of that. All that chaos last year in the offseason led to a season where they didn't make the playoffs. So offseason chaos is never good. So that does scare me. But until proven otherwise, I have to go with Buffalo still winning the division.
All right, fair. You want to play a game?
I do want to play a game.
Or you want to go Andrew Luck first?
Oh, let's do the Andrew Luck thing. I totally forgot about that. So last week, I would have brought this up last week because it was mentioned last week by Colin Cowherd on his show. And he mentioned about how technically this coming year, I guess this coming year, Andrew Luck will be eligible for the Hall of Fame because he'll have been out of the league for 5 years. And he made an argument that he thinks Andrew Luck is a Hall of Famer. And his argument was more or less, listen, this guy was the number 1 pick in the draft. He was immediately a star in the league.
What the fuck does that mean?
With minimal talent, they went 11-5, 11-5, 11-5, went to the playoffs. But he got his career was cut short because of injury, so he makes the decision to. But he thinks he's a Hall of Famer. Now, I will say this. Colin Cowherd masturbates to Andrew Luck. I mean, he thinks Andrew Luck is the second coming of the Christ. So there's that part of it. But I just wanted to throw that out to you, and before I made any kind of comment, see what you thought about that.
I don't think so.
I think he was in the league for 5 years.
I don't think so.
4 or 5 years.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's utterly ridiculous. I think it's Bo Jackson in the Hall of Fame?
No.
If anybody deserves to be in it because of an injury, it would be Bo Jackson.
So I agree with that. But this is where I thought you were going to throw at me, being a Bronco guy. Terrell Davis is in the Hall of Fame. He had 4 phenomenal years.
But he's also got 2 Super Bowls.
And won a MVP.
Right.
And won a Super Bowl MVP. Yeah.
Right. This is not arguable.
And basically turned John Elway's legacy around.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew Luck never won a Super Bowl. Andrew Luck, and I was a huge Andrew Luck fan, so this is not me trying to knock on Andrew Luck. It's just the reality of the fact that he wasn't in the league. Andrew Luck was never considered the best player at his position, best quarterback in the league. Think of who was in the league at the time.
Right.
You know, you got Drew Brees, you got Big Ben, you got Tom Brady. There was so many. You know, Peyton Manning was still in the league, although he was with Denver. So no. Sub 500 playoff record, never got past the second round in the playoff, got blown out. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they get blown out by the Jets one time? Wasn't it the Jets that was like 40-0?
Was that him? No.
It wasn't him?
I don't think it was him. I think it was Peyton.
I meant to look that up. Maybe you're right. It's just a no from me. Do I think he would have been?
Because the Jets haven't been in the playoffs since 11. When did he come into the league? 12 or something, 13, something like that? So, like, that doesn't add up.
Got to be something like that. Yeah. I think he would have been a Hall of Famer, no doubt. I think he would have been first ballot Hall of Famer. But he just isn't, dude. There's nothing that warrants it. You can't go by, like, he had a bad supporting cast, so he belongs in. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
there's a reason Dan. Yes, absolutely. There's a reason Dan Marino doesn't get truly mentioned with the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And that's because he never won a Super Bowl. There's a reason that Charles Barkley doesn't get really mentioned with the greatest basketball players of all time, because he never won a championship. These things matter. Yeah, these things matter. And, you know, although Don Mattingly, I think, should be in the Hall of Fame, but that's a whole other story.
He might get in. He might get in. What's that, senior vote? And then all these coaching and manager, he might get in.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years in the league, and your argument is, I had a bad team around me. That's just not good enough. I'm sorry. In fact, what's funny is the hypocrisy of Colin Cowherd saying that, because he's always saying, I don't care about your supporting cast. If you're that good, elevate people. He did elevate people. He did elevate his team, but not to championships. And that's, I'm sorry. Just if he had, what did he play? 4 or 5 years, 6 years, maybe?
Yeah, 6 years, maybe.
If he had won a Super Bowl in that time and gone 11-5, 11-5, you'd have an argument. You'd have an argument, because now you can say it was a great career, cut short by injury, had the Super Bowl, had a league MVP or something like that. You'd have an argument there. And I would at least be willing to listen to it. You have nothing. You have no pins. You have no pins on his jersey. There's no AFC Championship. There's no Super Bowl. There's no MVP. There's no league MVP. There's no Super Bowl MVP. There's no pins. There's just no pins.
Can you do me a favor? Can you stop listening to Colin Cowherd?
Well, then we lose out on so much material because he's such an idiot sometimes.
Mike Florio will make up for it.
Oh, this is true.
All right, let's play again.
That was the one thing I'm like, why do people have to make? And believe me, I know what they're doing. They have to say, you know, sometimes it's a slow friggin' day.
Yeah.
And you got to come up with something controversial.
Especially in June.
For the crowd. Yeah. So it is what it is. All right, here comes your game, and the game is called What's More Likely.
Ooh.
And I have 6 scenarios for you, and I just want to hear your What's More Likely.
I wish we were talking about the scenarios, but go ahead.
We talked about the AFC East today, and the first question comes out of Florham Park with the New York Jets. What is more likely? Aaron Rodgers wins the league MVP, or the Jets miss the playoffs?
Jets miss the playoffs. Not even close for me.
So you think it's more likely the Jets win the playoffs? Miss the playoffs?
Yes.
Okay.
Just because of the AFC.
Okay. I think the opposite. I don't think there's any chance. Unless there's injuries. I don't think there's any way they miss
the Jets song is washed. It's clean. It's now on.
Number 2.
Oh, my God.
Number 2. Let's take it out to Denver. What is more likely? Russell Wilson throws for 4,500 yards, or the Broncos go 2-0 against the Chiefs this year? Listen, you got a new head coach. You got the genius Sean Payton in there. Supposed to be the one who turns it all around. Your boy was the problem last year. What the hell is his name?
Hackett.
Hackett was the problem. You got Sean Payton in there. Russell Wilson's going to go. But you got weapons out the wazoo. You got Jerry Jeudy. You got all these weapons. Good offensive line. They fixed that.
You done?
4,500 yards or 2-0 against the Chiefs?
So you asked me this I'm guessing for a specific reason. Patrick Mahomes never lost to the Broncos, right?
No, I didn't even. I didn't know that.
I think he's 12-0 or something.
I just was trying to come up with something comparable on the other side.
Yeah, he's
because I don't know that Russell Wilson's ever thrown for 4,500 yards either.
So you got to think, playing the odds, that they're going to beat him at some point. I don't know if they're going to do it twice in a year or even one, but that's going to happen at some point. The 4,500 yards, I don't think they want to throw the ball that much. That's where they went out and got Samaje Perine. They got 3 linemen.
So what's more likely?
Fuck face.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they beat KC twice.
Okay. I do think the opposite.
Listen, that's 51-49. That's
here's why.
Because both are impossible.
I'm trying to look at – well, I don't know that. I'm trying to look at what Sean Payton did with New Orleans.
Yeah.
And while, yes, Alvin Kamara was important and they used him, the running game was complementary and play action. They love to use it for – it's not that it didn't exist. This is not like a purely passing team by any stretch. But it was more – they want to pass the ball, big plays. And you got some big play receivers. So I think 4,500 – plus you got an extra game. We forget there's 17 games now. So I think 4,500 is more likely. How much more? But more likely.
Exactly.
Number 3, what's more likely? Tua plays every game this season, or Tua plays less than half the games? So does he play every game or 8 or less?
Man, this is a Pete Calisano answer if I've ever heard one.
It's a tough one because you don't want to root against the guy getting hurt.
I just hyped up the Dolphins, but I think it's less likely he misses half the year.
It's not that he's gonna, but it's more likely.
Yeah, I think it's more likely he misses half the year.
I think you're probably right on that one. That I think we agree. I don't think either one of those is likely. He'll probably miss like 2, 3, 4 games, if I had to guess. Because they're going to be. There's certainly going to be. Well, this almost makes it more likely that there's less. They're going to be super careful with him. If he even looks. Like if he even has a head cold, they're gonna pull because they don't want the heat. You don't want that media heat. Miami doesn't want that after what happened last year. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Number 4. You led me into this one before. What's more likely? Bill Belichick gets an extension, a contract extension, or Bill Belichick gets fired or retires? What's
fired or retires?
Fired or retires is more. Do you think Bill Belichick is kind of on the hot seat now? If they miss the playoffs again,
I don't think the hot seat's fair, but I do think that Robert Kraft might be kind of sick of him.
I think there's something to that for sure. He's overridden them before, and that's when Tom Brady was still here.
Yeah.
Now that he's kind of losing,
and Kraft is.
And I don't think they'll be like, I don't think he'll pull a Trump and be like, come in my office, you're fired. But I think he might encourage him to step down or something like that.
Yeah, do the right thing by him.
Don't make me fire you and embarrass you. Why don't we just have a parting of the ways? I think you're right on that. I think there really is a chance that after this season, because I think they're going to, I agree with you 100%. I think they're the worst team in this division. I think they're going to come in last place. And they were 3rd place last year. Second place Okay, let's put it this way. The first year Tom Brady wasn't there, they got in second place. Then 2 years ago, they were in third place. Or last year in third place. And this year, they're going to be in last place. It just keeps going downhill.
Right.
How many coaches get,
that many
extra chances after all that?
Yeah.
So I think there could be a conversation that goes on that says, he needs some time. So I think you're right. Number 5, we got 2 more to go here. What's more likely, the Lions win the NFC Championship or they miss the playoffs again?
They win the North or the whole NFC?
The NFC Championship game. Like they go to the Super Bowl.
They miss the playoffs.
You think it's more likely?
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying this.
Nobody loves the Lions more than me.
I can't believe I'm saying this.
Except maybe you.
I think it's more likely they go to the Super Bowl. I look and I say Chicago's bad. Green Bay, who knows, is Jordan Love going to be a good quarterback? And I don't know what's going on there. I think there's a really good argument for the Lions to win the division. And then you look at the rest of the NFC. Who's great?
Philly's good.
Philly's really good. San Francisco's good.
Dallas is good, but they always choke in the playoffs. Seattle, I think, is going to be okay, too.
Maybe. You really want to count on Geno Smith having another monster season? I don't know. This is what I'm saying.
I got to tell you.
I think this is a pretty good team. They got maybe the best offensive line in the sport right now.
I agree with you. I think it's a very good team.
If they're able to tighten up that defense a little, listen, if they were in the AFC, this wouldn't even be an argument.
Right.
But in the NFC, with so few competitors at that elite level,
I don't know if I trust Goff though.
How much on that? He did go to a Super Bowl once before, though.
Yeah,
with a very good team.
Yeah, McVay's a different. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Interesting one. I know.
Yeah,
we like our Lions.
I know we do.
All right, last one for those Steeler fans out there. What is more likely? By the end of this season, Kenny Pickett is the man, or the Steelers are looking for a new quarterback? Remember, they are also in the AFC.
Kenny Pickett's the guy.
Really? You ready to say that now?
Yeah, I think so. I love the second half of the year he had. He's a Pittsburgh guy. They're very loyal there. They're very patient there because they have the ability to be, unlike a lot of other teams in the league.
They
got some weapons around them. Again, they're one of those teams that don't get blown out in games too because their defense keeps them in games. They run the ball. I think another year, another step.
Yes, I agree with that. I think Kenny Pickett is an imperfect quarterback. But you know what? Tom Brady was an imperfect quarterback at one point. People forget the first couple of years that Tom Brady was the starter with New England. The numbers were mediocre at best. It's as time went on, he became, what you think of today.
Right.
With the monster numbers. But those first couple seasons, and when the year they won the Super Bowl, and even the year after that.
Game manager, unbelievable defense. So, I kind of agree with that, but I still don't know how good Kenny Pickett will be, but I think I agree with you. I don't love the glove thing. I got to be honest. I don't love the glove thing. But I agree with you. I think another season, I think he's a really hard worker. I think he's really well liked. These things all matter. So I agree with you. I think he's going to be proven more the man. What that means, is he a Super Bowl quarterback? I don't know. But I think he'll be the man in Pittsburgh. So. Yep.
All right, that's what I got. Good job.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Let's go to the little round ball. Over the pond, the British Open is underway. Royal Liverpool is the course.
Yep.
Last major of the year. Dude, I cannot believe it. Feels like yesterday we were just talking about the Masters, for Christ's sake.
Mm-hmm.
Really makes me sad.
I was watching a little bit this morning on by the way.
No, you just froze. Hold the phone.
I had to search far and wide. To see where it was.
Where, the golf course?
Well, no, what channel it was on.
Yeah, I know.
It's on USA. So
Yeah.
But you're getting your NBC crew on there, so it is what it is. But
obviously, like a normal Open, the course, the bunkers, everything's nuts. Clean first day though, because the weather was nice. They got to hit the ball around pretty good.
It got a little breezy as it went on. Yeah.
Yeah, so those guys that got out early really put up a number. I think Fleetwood's 5 under, and
did you see who was also at the top of the leaderboard?
the 6'8" guy. This is the amateur.
Amateur at -5, leading the British Open. So that's kind of cool.
He'll shoot an 84 tomorrow.
Very likely. You know what we got to hope for more than anything is that the weather changes. I mean, that's what makes this tournament so unique from the others. You know, I'm certainly hoping for that.
With the wind whistling down, their windbreakers.
I don't know so much need the rain or the drizzle or whatever, but you want the wind to kick up. It is what makes it so different than the other majors. The thing that makes all the major, or the thing that's supposed to make all the majors, you know, fun to watch for us is that the course toughens up, right? Usually we want the winning score to be lower than 10 under, like somewhere in the single digits. And it's fun to watch. So when it starts to get carried away, because these courses are not necessarily, over there in Great Britain, England, Ireland, Scotland, over there, they're not necessarily the toughest courses in the world. Like if there was, perfect weather. But it's when the weather kicks up and the ball starts running and it runs right into those pop bunkers.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks, a shot looks like the greatest drive in the world, but it just keeps running and running. You're like, oh, this is great. I'm getting an extra 50 yards. And then it's in a pop bunker, and your next shot, you have to hit it backwards. Like, that's what's so fun about this. It's so different, So.
I got 3 sleepers for you.
Go ahead.
Good numbers here. At least they were yesterday. I don't know if they changed. Tom Kim, 65 to 1. I think he's 22 years old. Great player. Really, really, really nice, calm swing. 80 to 1, Min Woo Lee was battling early on in the year for one of the majors or one of the big tournaments. It might have been the Players Championship. He was really playing well. And 90 to 1, Brian Harman, a little small lefty guy, reminds me of Mike Weir. He's got he takes forever to hit the ball, but when he does it, so he's really good.
Yeah, I was mentioning Brian Harman last week. I was watching the tournament just for a little while last week, and I said, man, this guy. He's such a great player. He just doesn't hit the ball very far.
Right.
But goddamn, he hits the damn fairway every goddamn time, and he's a putting machine. He's a beast. And these kind of courses where the course isn't necessarily terribly long, but it's conditions based. I agree with you. He could have a really good run in him. So we'll see. Usually, I don't know what time the coverage starts. When it was on ESPN, you can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and start watching.
I know, it's beautiful.
It's really cool. I don't know. I'll have to see tomorrow morning what time the coverage starts with USA. But a lot of fun. But for me, I'm rooting for some weather. Nothing nasty. I don't want it to be ridiculous, but just give me some wind, some clouds. I want to see these guys in sweatshirts. I want to see the fans with wool hats on or something like that. Give me some of that, and I'll be happy. And it'll be better for everybody because that's what makes links course is so difficult. It's the conditions, not the course itself. Although I will tell you this too. I was watching this morning, and they had areas of the rough that were a little longer than you would normally see. So I like.
Oh, really?
I want it to be tough. I want it to be tough on these guys. So, I think ever since Tiger Woods came on the scene and he was driving a ball so goddamn far compared to everybody else, they used to call it tiger-proofing these courses. And the way they used to do it was just make the course longer, keep making it longer, because these guys are hitting it longer. And over the last couple of years, what you're seeing is they're not so much making the course longer. They're maybe making the fairway slightly tighter and the rough a more of a penalty. So, sure, you want to hit it 330, you're going to hit it out of some serious shit. Otherwise, keep it in a fairway, pal. And I like that better.
Me too.
Rough. Hey, I feel like this when we play, right? Like when we play, if the groundskeeper didn't get to that hole's rough that day,
I know
I'm hitting out of ankle-high shit, and it's hard as hell. So I like the idea of long rough. Make it hard on these guys. Make them not sure which club. You got to use at least an extra club out of the rough, sometimes 2.
Yeah.
Make these tough decisions for these guys. Otherwise, get your ass in a fairway, take a little off, use a lower club, and keep it in a fairway.
That's a great point, dude, because
keeps it interesting.
Because in 20 years, with the way bodies are developing and the equipment
is
there's only so much land you got, dude. You can't make these fucking courses that much long.
I don't know if I saved the picture. I saw a photo on Facebook, and I kept it. I don't know, or I took the snapshot. I don't know if I kept it. I don't think I did. Damn it. But it was Rory McIlroy hit a drive 270 yards with a standard driver, and 330 yards with his persimmon driver.
Right.
And it was like, bro, guess what? I drive at 270 sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
yeah.
I will say, made me feel kind of good that Rory with regular equipment or basic equipment is not quite the player that he is with elite equipment.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. Because of advancements in equipment, and these guys are, when you and more me, I'm a little older than you. So when I was growing up and watching Jack Nicklaus and then some of the guys after him, even Phil Mickelson when he was young, these guys were not in shape. These were not physical guys. They were golfers. That's all they did. And a lot of it was they thought too much muscle and you become tight and you can't control the ball. You look at all these guys. Look at fucking Brooks Koepka's got boulders for shoulders. They're all, Rory, Dustin Johnson. They're a lot more fit now and a lot stronger, and they can control the ball because
Tony Finau. It's like
Tony Finau hits bombs, dude. A lot of these guys just try. So hey, if you can hit it straight and far, great. But if you don't, it should sting a little bit. It should be tough. It should almost cost you a stroke. Or at least what we would call over time. It would be like cost you half a stroke. You know what I mean? So I did like seeing that. So it'll be fun to watch. And what's also nice about this, if you watch on Saturday and Sunday, is it's over pretty early, so you still have the rest of the day to hang out and do what you want to do.
It's the best.
So it's pretty cool.
All right, I guess it's time for the Yankees.
Oh boy, it's about time. I mean, what do we got here? July 20th, and this is our first real Yankee rant from you. You've been patient. You've been patient. You're getting a little more patient in your older age. Yeah. By the way, did you know I had a birthday?
Yeah, I wish you happy birthday.
50.
I know. You look good though, Coach.
Thank you.
Hips for parrot. He's a fucking new man now.
Cortisone is beautiful stuff.
Did you have a good day? Did you have a good birthday?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was a great day.
Good.
Great day. Always.
Everybody stinks. Everybody stinks.
That sums it up.
They're too old. They're either too old. They're either too young. They go in month-long slumps. Anthony Rizzo, 2 months without a home run.
Dude, crazy.
DJ LeMahieu should have got this foot surgery. He looks fucking lost. I don't know if
Dude, here's a guy who was a league MVP, right? Wasn't he a league MVP?
Batting title.
No, batting title. And what is he batting? 150?
It's not good.
It's bad. Embarrassingly bad.
The two guys that have showed up this year, and one you could argue 1.5. Garrett Cole for sure. Yeah. All-star starter. Guy's a horse. Guy gets no credit. Houston, cheating, spit, whatever. He's been great here. I don't care. It's not his fault what's going on here.
Absolutely. No, there's no doubt about it.
The other one's going to surprise you. Gleyber Torres has been hitting the ball very well. I think he's on an 11, 12-game hitting streak. He's still a Momo. He makes base-running mistakes twice a week. He botches double plays. But that's how fucking bad this team is, that he's on the second guy on this list.
It's really rough.
Bader, who my buddy Tommy has proclaimed the X Factor. Because when he's out, their outfield, the kind of Life is playing center field. Jake Bowers is playing. It's a joke. He's hurt again for the third fucking time. You trade for him hurt, now he's hurt again. Josh Donaldson, which you shouldn't have been on this team to begin with, he's hurt again. I hope he never puts on the pinstripes again. See ya. I wouldn't fucking give Aaron Judge any crap if he decided, you know what? What am I rushing back for? Let me get this thing totally healed. Go into next year and run in. Maybe we get some. Maybe Cashman figures out how to general manage a team again. I don't think so, but
I think that's one area where a lot of people are starting to say that's also gotten old too.
We've been saying it for 2 years, bro, since this podcast has started. And you could argue longer than that. Me and my buddies were talking about this. I am convinced this guy has naked pictures of Hal banging a sheep or something. This is ridiculous that this guy still, no other GM in any sport would have this kind of leash, especially with the Yankees' reputation.
Yeah, when you think about it, who has spent more money in the last 10 years with less results? In any sport.
Right.
In any sport. I mean, you look at the NBA, you look at the NFL, you look at Major League Baseball, and even in hockey, and you say, what organization has spent more and spent this much and has had these results? Not the Dodgers, not the Rangers in hockey. You go around all the sports. Look at Golden State in the NBA. They go above the luxury tax every year. They get championships. So if you're going to spend this kind of money, and they don't even have the top salary anymore.
No.
But they're still one of the top 3 or 5.
Yeah, definitely.
You got to have some results. They don't even have. They have no championships in how many years is it now?
14.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you got to win it every year just because you spend a lot of money. But you got to be in a hunt. When's the last time you were even in the World
You're not
Series?
even going to one, right? You're not even going to one. Like, you're like, it's. They have made so
And
many...
on top of that, I don't think there's been a year in that stretch where anybody would have said it should have been them in the World Series. Houston's had such a great run. The Dodgers have had these great runs. Like,
Tampa.
There hasn't been a year in there where it's like, oh, yeah, the Yankees should win it this year. You haven't. You're spending all this money, and you're not even the favorite to win the damn thing.
I know. It's always like, what? Well, if this happens, if this guy stays healthy, no one stays healthy. We've been on this for years. The strength and conditioning staff is a mess. I think the players are also weak and softer than they used to be. Like, there's a lot to it.
Sure, it's a complicated issue.
Every team gets banged up, but I feel like we are constantly with the most guys and the most important guys.
Right. I agree with you. I agree.
They're in last place this far into the season for the first time in 30 years. That's all you need to know about analytics with the Yankees. I'm not saying analytics is bad all over the league. They're bad with the Yankees. They don't know how to do it.
Steinbrenner was Georgie was still alive then.
They're missing something, dude. They're not getting something right with the analytics. The manager's soft as shit. The GM sucks. The players are bad. They're old. They're weak-minded. Whatever you want to say. And I'm going to spend another fucking $200, $300 a month on these fucking guys, and it frustrates the shit out of me.
You know,
I'm done.
So many might not be the right. Too many guys wrapped up in huge long-term contracts that it's really going to be, as much as we would like to say, Cashman has to go, you're going to have trouble unwinding this shit because there are just, you're either going to have to decide, hey, we're going to trade these guys and eat a significant portion of their contract because nobody else is going to pick those contracts. Nobody's picking up Stanton's contract. You're going to have to eat like 75% of that fucking thing if you wanted to get rid of him.
Who's taking LeMahieu for 4 more years?
I'm saying. And these guys have like pretty long-term contracts. LeMahieu just signed a new contract like last year. So
2 years ago, yeah.
To unwind what is in place right now, good luck with that. I don't even care who you brought in. I don't care if you brought Billy Beane in. I mean, it's going to be tough to unwind this shit.
And I love Michael Kay, the fucking puppet he is. Oh, Brian Cashman will have a job in 5 minutes. Great. I'll drive in there. Go ahead. Excellent.
So
love it. Good. God bless him.
That's the dumbest thing ever.
Care.
I'm sure he's right, actually. But that doesn't mean he's doing that doesn't mean you should keep him here because he's doing a good job. You know what happens sometimes when people get fired? They reassess. They look and they say, hey, why did I end up getting fired? What can I do differently? Maybe things have changed. Maybe I got to start doing things differently.
Yeah,
you think Brian Cashman would be he'd get a job in 2 minutes? You think the Minnesota Twins would hire him in 2 minutes? This guy doesn't know what it's like to have a $50 or $60 million payroll. Why do you just assume? Maybe the Dodgers would hire him. Maybe Houston. Maybe
Padres. Maybe
somebody with big payrolls. Yeah. Otherwise, this guy knows nothing about building a team without $100 million.
He's not going to Milwaukee, folks. Let's calm down.
So this idea, Billy Beane gets a contract anywhere in 2 minutes if he wants to. I don't know that that's so sure about Brian Cashman. I don't know that that's the truth. I don't know that that's accurate. I think a lot of people around the league look and they say, how does this guy still have a job? I don't think a lot of teams, organizations, I don't think a lot of organizations are looking at Brian Cashman and say, he's done a great job. This team shouldn't suck. No, I think a lot of it falls. I think most fair-minded people look and they say a significant portion, the players have to play. It's not like he brought in shit players, but you need to do a little more due diligence on the players that you bring in and how much money you're going to spend, So I think a significant portion of the league looks at him and say, he's made a lot of mistakes,
Like the one more thing for me, and then we can move on. The one that stands out for me is last year when you traded for Josh Donaldson and you take it on $28 million just to get rid of Gary Sanchez. Cut him.
Yeah.
You traded a very, very solid third baseman who batted about .275, batting ninth on the Yankees, was a perfect Yankee.
For sure.
Had a good Gold Glove third baseman, and you go out and get this piece of shit whose good seasons are way behind him, and he's a dick. So you bring on a bad guy in the clubhouse. You had that thing with Tim Anderson last year. We called him Jackie right off the bat. Got people pissed off right off the bat. Urshela's having a good year. Gary fucking was doing all right when it happened, but now Gary is what it is. He's been on 4 teams, I think, since. And you know what those 3 teams did? They just cut him.
They just
cut him. Dude, Brian, what happened to you, dude? Then you go out and you get this guy Ben Rovent in that trade. Then he gets hurt in spring training. Then you got to go out and get another catcher, trade more guys off. Like, dude, it's a domino effect with this team. And then not to mention last year at the second half of the year during the trade deadline, every guy you traded for either was hurt already or missed this whole year because they were hurt.
Correct.
So, dude, it's not a good look, man. It's not a good look.
Hey, and some people might sit here and say, well, it's not his fault. That's not fair to put that on him. Hey, man, tough shit. That's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
As a head coach in any sport, you know, you can't always control what your athletes do and how they play and how many injuries you get. You get fired. That's the nature of the business, my man. It's win or you're out. That's the way it works. Nobody gets to say, well, it's not fair. No shit, it's not fair. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. And they haven't won. They haven't produced. And it's going to fall partly and significantly on his shoulders.
Then they go out and fire the hitting coach. All right, someone's got to get blamed. All right, I get it. You go out and get Sean Casey. Sean Casey was a good player, whatever, but he's been an analyst for fucking 15 years, 10, 15. Well, he hasn't been in a dugout in a long time.
Right.
There's a lot, dude, things have changed. You know, Captain Analytics, we hear it every fucking day. Yeah, you go out and get a guy that's been in, come on, man. It just doesn't make any sense.
There's too much of that. There's too much of it doesn't make any sense.
Head scratching. Yeah, it's one after the other.
Too many moves that people say, and not just you, lots of people say, it doesn't make any sense. At some point, we got to say, dude, these are mistakes. It's time. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
They did it with Aaron Hicks. All right, Gallo last year. Goodbye. All right, great. You got to do it 3 or 4 more people at least.
You're going to have to. It's going to cost. But that's the only way you're going to be able to unwind this thing because nobody's going to bail you out.
And people are killing Rodon. All right, I got it. He hasn't been great. But it's kind of hard to get a rhythm and momentum when you don't start pitching till July.
Right.
You went out, that's your big free agent guy, and he comes in, he's hurt. Like, dude, it's laughable because it's every guy.
It's over and over. It's the same story over and over. And this is why it starts to become like, hey, now we got to question you. Like, it's the same story over and over. And not just with these guys. If we go back to just 10 years ago, 8 years ago, similar stories, different players.
Right.
Guys they bring in, pay big money to, they're hurt all the time. It's like
Teixeira, Burnett.
Absolutely. Like, it's over. And you're going back a pretty decent way with Teixeira. Like, it's just over and over. We bring in guys, they're hurt all the time. I don't know if it's the wrong guy to bring in or
they're not doing their homework or what is going on?
Or a little bit of both. I don't know. But to me, all of that falls under the general manager. Either you're not bringing in the right people for the training staff or you're not bringing in the right players.
Or you have bad guys under you that are giving you bad advice.
And here's the other side of it. Maybe it's bad luck. And you know what? Fuck off. That's part of it too.
Yeah.
You still get fired for bad luck. I hate to say it, but you still get fired for bad luck. Nobody gives a shit, dude. Nobody cares. You're losing,
especially that we're used to winning. And listen, I know we're a little spoiled. I got it. But the way it's happening and the fact that you're still
spending the same money. You're still charging. Still $800 a day to go to a freaking Yankee game. So it's not like they're saving money and it's going back to the consumer.
Right.
You know.
I'm not getting a check in October for them going fucking last place.
Exactly. So let's not pretend like they're frugal now or something like that, and it's benefiting the fan. Get the hell out of here.
I know.
So.
All right, Sky Trivia.
Love this part.
We're going to the British Open, my friend.
Ooh,
I got 3 questions for you.
All right. I don't know my confidence level in this one. I'll try.
Who holds the lowest 72 hole score in the Open?
No multiple choice?
Yeah, I'm giving it to you.
Oh.
A, Tiger Woods. B, Greg.
What did you say? In an opening round?
The lowest 72 holes, so the whole tournament.
72, okay.
A, Tiger. B, Norman. C, Rory. D, Henrik Stenson.
I think it's Stenson, and it was the year he went against Mickelson.
You are correct. One
head to head against Mickelson. Mickelson almost won a British Open back-to-back years.
He was great that tournament, man. He was putting
2 years in a row.
He was putting shit fucking right next to the pin, dude. It was incredible.
What, Stenson?
Yeah, it was
my
nuts.
God.
Oh, it was nuts.
Yeah, it was crazy. Because you know what? Mickelson was actually playing great. Stenson was playing out of his gourd.
He didn't fold at all. Like a lot of people thought he was going to do like the John Vandervaalt thing and blow up. He never did, dude.
Opposite, yeah.
Who has the most open titles? A. Tom Watson, B. Jack Nicklaus, C. Harry Vardon, D. Peter Thompson.
Well, I feel pretty confident that Tom Watson has the most for an American. See, you know, the last two. What were the last two? Vardon and
Harry Vardon and Peter Thompson.
These guys go back some ways, right?
They do.
Yeah, that's what scares me. I'm going to say Tom Watson.
Oh, man, you did it again.
Vardon?
Yep.
Yeah. Fucker.
Yep.
Damn it.
All right.
That's okay.
Last one to go.
I'm in the ball.
Listen, you're doing all right, man. I just love that you love this so much. You
know what it is, bro? Before you go to the last one, I always love throwing this out there because I used to do a lot of sports gambling. I still dabble, but like I used to do more when I was a kid, like 18 into my 20s. Got myself into little financial trouble, which then was like a few $100. Like, you're 18, you don't have any fucking money. So you lose $400, you're in a little trouble. And then as I got older, I realized it was never about the money. Because a $5 bet for me does the same that like a $50 or $100 bet does for me. It was always about being right.
Yeah.
So that's why I enjoy this so much, because it's like if there was money on this, it wouldn't make any bit of difference. I just want to be right. Like, I hate being wrong. So go ahead.
All right, last one.
All right.
Who shot the lowest closing round to win the Open? Cam Smith, Greg Norman, Nick Faldo, Henrik Stenson. This is what I enjoy the most. The agony on your face.
Because I know Stenson went off, but I just can't. Here's what I'm thinking. He wouldn't give me Stenson twice. So I have to almost like discount Stenson because I don't think you'd make him the answer twice. And Cam Smith was last year, right?
Yeah, that was a fucking crazy Sunday.
It was, but that's why I'm like leaning. What was the first one?
Cam Smith, Greg Norman, Nick Faldo, Henrik Stenson.
And the question is best Sunday, right? Best Sunday score?
Yes.
Because I know Norman. I don't want to say because I'm not going to be right. I'm going to say Nick Faldo.
I got you. It's Henrik Stenson twice, baby.
Damn!
Let's go!
I really how stupid. I even just said, I think it's Henrik Stenson, but I can't believe you'd give me him twice. You bastard. Son of a bitch.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Because we just said he went nuts.
I'm like, dude, I'm like, the way you talked away the first question, I'm like, he's gonna hit this like that, and he he said it, and he goes against it. Like, excellent.
Damn it.
That is excellent.
Always the best. Always the best part. 107 in the books, my man. Great job. Always bringing the heat with the trivia. I think everybody looks forward to that part. And if they're not, man, Jesus. It's worth tuning into alone. We had games today, trivia, always the good stuff.
Beautiful.
Next week, I assume, what division are we going to do next week?
I think we're going to do the South, AFC South.
So we'll stay AFC for now. So
yeah, we'll do AFC next week. Yeah.
Maybe we'll have some news from camp, see if anything goes on. Hopefully no injuries. I don't ever root for guys getting injured.
I agree with that.
I even feel bad about mentioning that with Tua before. Like, I don't root for guys to get hurt, man. It's a physical-ass sport. You don't want anybody getting banged up.
Next week, it's a little late now, but next week I want to hit on the Northwestern situation.
Yes, good point.
I thought about that late today. I
need details. I need details to make a better judgment. Details from these kids that were going through the hazing. So that's a good thing. We'll talk about that next week, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. For Scott Bracey, I'm Pete Colasano. You've been listening to Bump and Run. We'll catch you guys next week.
Later.
All right, good stuff. Damn it, man! I can't believe you pulled that shit with me with Stenson. It really was my answer, but
Dude,
I'm like,
it's
you wouldn't do it
fantastic.
twice.
Because, dude, I'm looking at you and I'm going, he's gonna hit it right away because he just like,
Yeah,
he killed it that round.
I
But you're
gave
not
all
gonna
the
give it to me.
reasons
And then I'm like,
already.
he's making a left-hand turn. I'm like, there he goes.
Because I didn't think he would do that. You son of a bitch.
Oh, it's great.
That was good shit. Cool, man. I'll have this up tonight. Shouldn't be a problem.
Excellent,
Unless
brother.
I run into problems, of course. But I think I figured it out.
Let's
They
knock on wood.
changed. It's called Spotify Podcasters now instead of Anchor. So even though the website was the same, but then I looked and it was a little different. So I think the problem has been solved.
Got it. Awesome.
So hopefully that's it. So it should be a problem getting it out tonight.
Good to be back, brother.
Absolutely. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Later.
Bye-bye.